How's it going, everybody? This is Mikey Wine here. You guys know me as Gundam Works, and we're live again. So, yeah, very eventful day we've had, right? Fuzzy Space Kitty was in early. I don't even know when he sent that message. Cool bananas, bro. Good to see you. If you are in here right at the moment, great. And Giovanni's in a close second. Again, thanks for joining me live. We're gonna do this. We're gonna keep doing the show, and but before I get started, yeah, wow. I have told myself I would never ever bring politics into this show, but today has been a stunner. I'm still stunned by what happened today. So, yeah. It's gonna be that, gonna try to keep it lively, keep it upbeat, but what a horrible tragedy we had unfold today, and that's I'm gonna try to keep it to a minimum. That's pretty much all I'm gonna say about it. You see the header there. Thoughts and prayers go out. Rest in peace, Charlie Kirk. But anyway, let's get down to this project. Had a chance to do some painting and got all of the painting done. I finished all the damage pretty much last week with the Zaku head we're dealing with here, and now I'm going to move on. I painted everything that I needed to paint. There's some things that internally don't need to be painted, obviously, because we're not going to see them, but all the armor's done, and I'm going to go down to, let's start at the bench here so I can see where we're at. I just put this together. I will take this apart tonight, and not everything is glued together, but some of the internal stuff is, and taking on the advice from good old Fuzzy Space Kitty here, I did do the edges of the glass in clear green, so you can see those broken shards, scratches and such. Deep gouges are done in green. What's up, Nick? How you doing, my friend? And then last week I also opened up the exit here, so you can see all that now. Everything's been painted, all the armor's been painted, and I clear coated it yesterday, so I can go ahead and start doing the panel lining, and then and of course decals of whatever decals. There will be a few decals on this, on the head here before, but nothing is glued on because I still have some panel lines to do internally around the eye and stuff like that behind the glass, so that will have to come off. But you can see, I think it looks pretty good, and this color is nice. I was trying to decide between whether I was going to use the this is MS green. It's a UG06. Okay, so it's a Gundam color 06. There's also a deep green, which is a little bit darker than this, but I thought this green looks nicer. It looks a little more weathered and faded, something rather than that darker green. So I decided to stick with this, and then it'll take some weathering really nicely too. So that's why I decided to stick with this. So I don't know if you can see. You should be able to see daylight, but it's kind of hard to get the angle right for the camera. There's actually some daylight through, from top to bottom all the way through. I opened that up a little bit more inside too. So with that, I'm going to start taking these panels apart, and then we'll start doing some panel lining. That's pretty much what this show is going to be dedicated to tonight. And this, but once I take this apart, we can look a little bit more at the internals when it gets a little bit easier to see. So again, most of this stuff is just really simple to take apart. So now we can kind of see the damage a little bit better with the top off. Let's see if we can get the hole. You can kind of look down. Almost see daylight through there. Some of these are glued on, some of these pieces are not, like I said just a second ago, because I needed to be able to take this stuff apart for panel lining. So I am going to work on that. Let me get my magnifiers on here. All right. Who's pinging me? Let's see what's going on. Cool. Oh. Anyway, I will look at that later. Some of those are not necessary. So I didn't glue this on because these panels were having a little bit of difficulty fitting together. Well, not fitting together, but just staying together. And I wanted to be able to take everything apart, especially these two little rings under the nose section here. These are kind of finicky because they just basically press on one little tab in the middle. So it makes it a little bit harder to get it lined up. But when I go ahead and glue everything together, then I'll cinch that down a lot better than where it is now. So what I'm going to try to do here is take these side pieces off. There we go. And then the hood section here, there's a good chunk of that taken off with damage. Oh, look, my wife is in. How you doing, Maria? Good to see you. And let's see, once I get the glass off here, we can look a little bit closer at that. So let me just pop this loose. Come on. There we go. All right, so last week, Space Kitty was talking about painting the edges of this in clear green, and that's why I did the whole top edge here, and then most of the edges. It kind of gives that simulation of laminated glass, which I kind of like the effect. You know, and then not all of these cracks are deep enough to have green on them, so they're just wherever they were deeper. The deeper cracks is where I did the green work, and then I had to mask everything off, of course, to paint the frame. Here, I still need to do probably a little bit of damage around this area, because that's right about where that hole is on the bottom. But now, let me take off the nose here. I'll try to just swing this out of the way. I'm going to take this back piece out. It's a pretty tight fit, especially when everything's painted. So give me a sec here while I work this out. There we go. All right, so I'm going to set the cables aside. Take the back off. There we go. Now we can kind of see in here. So this is the reason I needed it before I glue everything, because I got to panel line all this in here. And I've also got the damage. It's kind of hard to see straight up in here is where the damage is from the eye. Now, the eye is full all the way over to here, this side, and I still need to paint the inside of this with a reflective color like chrome silver. I'll probably use my Tamiya. I've got some Tamiya enamels, which are really, really good. And then that way, if I do make a mistake, I can take it off with some enamel thinner easy enough. And then there's also the roof section inside there too that's also going to be pen lined. So this is all going to come off. That's why none of this was glued in place. Now, once I get all the pen lining done, I do my flat coats, then I'll go ahead and glue this all permanent. There we go. That was supposed to come off with this. It's a little bit harder to do. Okay, so I could actually probably glue this on. This isn't that important, so I'm going to glue this on. Just grab this before I make a mistake here. Yeah, a lot of this has been damaged, so there's just a little bit left to line up. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue down in this groove, and then I can just glue this down and it will stay, because none of this really needs to come apart anymore. The painting part, there's not a lot that's going to be seen, just really the damage here. That's only the part that's going to be seen. So, and that's all painted. All right, that's together. I'm going to do a little bit here just so that capillary, actually we'll peel that into this line here. Should be good. So yeah, interesting day today. Tragic to say the least. All right. But other than that, how's everybody else's day going? I think most of the people other than my wife here, well, Giovanni, I think you're in California, right? Fuzzy, he's over in, if he's even in the room at the moment, he's over in New Zealand. I don't even know what time it is over there. I don't remember the time change. I know he told us last week, but okay, this has got to come off, and that just easily slides off. I think I glued this down here, and that's as far as I'm going to go. So now I can go ahead and panel line all this. And I think we'll just start there since this is kind of one of the more interesting pieces. And then I've got the roof here, roof section. You know, this is what I'm talking about. This part inside under the glass that you can see. So we'll do all that. Shake it, mix up our panel line solution. Same old go-to. It's the Tamiya black. I do have some other colors, but this one's the one I use the most. And then, of course, to take it off, I've got my AK odorless enamel thinner. Hey, George. Look at that. Haven't seen you in a while. Of course, I've been gone a while, but good to have you back. How you doing? And so my go-to is usually the Tamiya enamel, even though Mr. Color does make a decent wash, but it's a little bit thinner than this. I think I like the way the Tamiya works. So for this purpose, we're going to keep using it. Good to hear. Been doing all right. That's good. Because we had, I mean, like I said, at the beginning, you weren't here at the very beginning, and I've always sworn to keep politics out of this live stream, but today was a tragic day in the world. We lost a very good man today, and for what? These people don't agree with it. I mean, George and I have had our debates, and we've always said, like, we can agree to disagree, still have a conversation at the end of the day, even if we don't agree. But that doesn't mean I'm going to, do something horrific. Not a fan at all. Charlie Kirk, but maybe he rest in peace. Didn't deserve it. Nope, nobody deserves it. Absolutely right. Nobody deserved it. So I'm glad to be back in the saddle here as far as this project, because I was experiencing a little bit of burnout, but I also had the Renaissance Fair. There was all other things that were occupying a lot of my time. And, during the week, it was just, most of the time, especially because of all the work we had to do out there for the Renaissance Fair, the week was pretty much just recovery time. And so I didn't do anything with the model. So nobody really missed anything other than just me not doing the show, because I was just tired all the time. So just constantly, come home, rest, go to work, and then go work the fair for the weekend. So yeah, now that that's done and dusted, we can get back to the business. Howdy, Nick. Everybody's saying hello. Good to see you guys. Yeah, I think I saw one of your last videos, George, and you said you were pretty tired too. So I don't know. Work's got you down a little bit too. I understand that. So there's a little bit on this side. There's a little bit of damage right about here. So I'm going to make sure I panel line this as well, and then I can add some pigment and stuff through the damaged area once that's all together. once everything's put, all the armor bits are back on. So I'm going to go and panel line that damaged area that I did. Watch last video earlier today. Raised panel damage got me thinking a lot about scale. What are you talking about? Like this piece here, George? Which I made larger. Giovanni. I put nippers and airbrush down a few weeks. Yeah. Sometimes you just got to do that, Going back to this, I made this hole a little bit larger because it seemed like it just wasn't quite big enough for an exit. Most of the time, entrance damage is a lot less noticeable than exit. So I decided to make it a little bit larger. And then now with the paint on it, because I'm using Guy Notes black primer, and so most of the pre-shading you see was actually the primer. I use that as my pre-shade black. Kind of saves me an extra step of going back over the primer with another black. This really seems kind of pointless to me because the primer is such good quality. So I use that as a little bit of shading as well for the damaged areas that are peeled back. When damage happens between panels, the panels separate in a unique way that's hard to do in a small scale. Oh, let me put this on screen. I know what you're talking about now. Yeah, I've been discussing that point exactly for several episodes now about if something, I equate it to, no, you're explaining it fine, George. I've said that, I equate it to like my industry, which is the auto industry, and we see damaged vehicles coming all the time. And when panels are hit, there's separation. Nothing really lines up correctly. So I planned on having a little bit of that during this, when I go to reassemble all of this, is that I'm not too overly concerned about everything fitting perfectly. Like this piece especially is supposed to sit. Let me see if I can get it down on here. Okay. So this is supposed to sit pretty much right there. But what I wanted to do was just basically push down on the front of this just to lift up this back edge. So now everything kind of looks like it's buckled slightly. And that's all it really needed, was just a little bit of that misalignment, because when this thing is basically knocked off of the mobile suit and then slamming into the ground, there's going to be some panel misalignment. So we'll see that later when I go to put this back together. But that was primarily my reason for, let me just stick this one on the side here, and we can kind of see what I'm talking about. So there's a little bit of damage here. All right, now if this is down in place, it's going to go just like that. All right, but what I wanted to do is just, like I said, just push that down in the front slightly, just to kind of increase the gap there. What up, nerds? Hey, what's up, Brian? Brian's in the house, Mr. Dinclaw. Am I saying that correctly? Or is it Denclaw? I don't know. I keep saying Denclaw, and I don't know if that's right. I hope I haven't been getting it wrong all this time. But anyway, that will, just by popping that up a little bit, will cause a little bit of misalignment here, and especially where it's basically the entrance going through this side armor panel and into the glass here. That afforded me that little bit of leeway to lift it up just slightly. So that's what I'm going to do. Anyway, I got some panel light on here. This has been on here enough, so I'm going to pull out some, I got some extra, let's see, my little Q-tips, and these are the Daiso, one of my go-tos. They come in blue, and they're pointed on one side, regular round tip on the other, and they don't leave as much lint behind. They will, if you really overuse them and shred them up, they'll leave some hairs behind, and they still do a little bit anyway. But they're nice because they're a little bit denser, and they work very, very well. I've got to go back and do the rest of the eye here, but I'm just going to get off most of this. Oop, George, that's a question I missed. Sorry, I missed it. Let's put it on screen. Question, but wouldn't some of the flex in the area that took the damage, not the whole piece, be part of that? Well, there is a portion of it missing. If you look at this, that corner is missing, and it's lifted up. It's kind of hard to see, but yeah. Let me put this down for a second. So this corner, if I can get my camera to focus, there it goes, is flared up. I'm trying to get that at an angle that you can actually see the. So this edge is lifted up, and a portion of it's missing. Now, originally the piece was still there, and I only wanted to kind of bend it out of the way, but there was just too much fatigue there, and it kind of came off. But there's still enough of it there that you can see. I don't know if I'm explaining that, but correctly or where you're thinking, but there will be some deflection. And then if you look at this piece, the damage is folded in, like something passing from this direction in. I thinned out the plastic back here and then bent that in. So anything that's going, I'm trying to keep everything in the right direction of I guess I call it deflection, but when something is projectiles passing through armor, it's going to fold in on the outside, and then on the exit, it's going to fold out. Georgie Porgy, pudding pie. Kiss the girls and made them cry. All right. Thanks, Brian. Thanks for the input. Sorry, like I said, I'm trying to keep it lively, but today was a bad day. And I don't want to keep dwelling on it, but I almost considered even postponing the show, but then I realized that I'd been gone so much the last month that I had to at least do something tonight. So the show must go on, right? All right, I need to do this. I gotta put a little bit. I'm gonna put this back on. Sorry, guys, just narrating what I'm doing here. I gotta add a little more pedal line to this. Brian says, I have a young face and an old soul. I have a young soul and an old body. I'm beat up. Gosh, I'm fighting here not to keep talking about today's events. I'm really struggling to just keep my mouth shut. You're just fucking old. Man, you're coming up on 60. In fact, we're going to Idaho to see some friends and family out there. Call them family, but not family by blood, but just family. They've been friends so long, they might as well be family. At the end of the month, and he's turning 60, so. All right, I think I've got enough of this piece here. Anyway, the stuff that's actually exposed, but actually I gotta do the bottom. Custom Nissan 430. That's right, you've been doing cars a lot, mostly. Didn't you show me some pictures of that? A lot of custom body work, Brian? so I got a little bit here on the bottom. Not that this is going to be really visible, but I'm using all UG colors on this. So all the paint colors I chose are all from the UG line, which is all the Gundam colors. To keep them nice and consistent. Actually, I guess I could do all this too. I got some panels under here as well, rivets and such. Now, most of the base of this I took apart, or either that or cut off, because the only thing that's going to be really connected or left connected will be the pistons, the kind of pivot, the mechanics of the neck, which will be embedded in the ground. So I think this is supposed to, I can't remember, is that point down or up? I don't think it matters. I'll leave it up. I'm just going to penalize this for the hell of it. Oh, Nick was gone? He says, I'm back. Also on the dark side. Traditional modeling, yeah. That's good to branch out. I mean, when I built the LFA model, that was the first car model I probably built in, I can't remember, to be honest. The only thing that got me back into scale modeling was the 1/12 scale Tamiya motorcycle kits, which I might go back to because those are really fun. Really fun. They're just very detailed for a small scale like that. It's just amazing. I definitely like what they've done. All right. Sorry, sir, you're late. Well, you weren't really technically late, Fuzzy, because you were the first one to kind of chime in on the chat, but that was 2 hours before the live stream. How's it going, my friend? So now that you're here, I'll go ahead and bring this back up. So I took your advice and I painted the edges of the glass in clear green, so it gives that appearance of laminated glass that has been broken. To eat? I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, on the dark side as well. Lots of armor recently, and I've been eyeing a couple of motorcycles. Well, good. Which brand of motorcycle, George? Just out of curiosity. Oops, that was the wrong one. There we go. Just out of curiosity. Massive Gundam, this auto 40K tank vignette. Oh, geez, you guys are really busy. Brian says, yum, yum. What is Nick doing? What is everybody... To eat what? Oh, cleaning fish. See, I missed that comment. Sorry about that. I try to get to see them all, but as they pop in, sometimes I scroll past the screen before I can get them. Anyway, so did you see that? You saw the glass then, Fuzzy? I guess that's what you're saying. Excellent. I hope that's what you're saying. Yeah, that was all you, man. It was your idea, and it worked out well. So we'll clean up the rest of the lines of this. Missing the structure here. New Mang 1/9 scale. Wow, that's huge. I think I did I'm trying to think. Oh no, you know what? It's not as big as I think, because I did build a 1/6, and that was another Tamiya motorcycle, and it was very kind of nostalgic. I built it for my dad, because back in the day when he was riding an old Honda CB750, 1980 Honda CB750K, and so Tamiya came out with a 1/6 scale CB750 F Sport. It was the same color though, same paint job, just the panels were slightly different because it was an F model versus a K model. Anyway, so that was pretty cool, because even the springs and everything, the shock absorbers were just big enough that even they worked like normal. They had springs that actually were functional rather than just molded plastic that kind of looked like a spring. These were actual springs that, and the suspension would bounce up and down and everything. So it was pretty cool. Motards on my stash. Motards. The glass looks really good. Oh, I gotta get this before everybody's. Let's see. Nick says the glass looks really good. That green is a great idea. Yeah, I thought so as well. It worked out really, really well. Talking about motards like motorcycles. Is that what you mean, Brian? What's George saying here? Great Wall Hobby has World War II German motorcycles. Interesting. That's kind of cool. Yeah, I'm not buying anything. Well, I can't say I'm not buying anything. I did pre-order the O reprint from Bandai, but that's supposed to come out soon. But I paid for that months ago, so I can't remember. I think it's supposed to release pretty soon, actually. Maybe it's sometime around third quarter, I thought, or I don't remember. But I was tempted to get that new 1/100 scale Ksatria, even though they're calling it something different. But all right, I think I'm finally done with this piece. I said I was done, and then I had to do the bottom of it. So I'm going to set this aside. I'm going to recap this with thinner here so I can start putting some more pen lines on. Tim, yeah, there's a few race bikes I would like to build. Yeah. One of the coolest ones I found was the NR750 Honda. And that was, if you don't know the history between the NR750, they were trying to build a 4-stroke motorcycle that could compete with other, let me get this off the screen. They could compete with 2-stroke bikes on the track. And the only way to do that was to build an 8-cylinder motorcycle. So they couldn't do that. So they had a 4-cylinder, but the pistons were oval. They were literally shaped like this. And they had to re-engineer everything to make it work. And it was actually an incredible feat, but it ultimately was too heavy a bike and didn't do well on the track. It was just too much weight. Let's see, German. One nice got German motorcycle, still good. 1.9, huh? That's still a pretty big scale. Brian says more than a few Mr. Questions. What's Giovanni got going on? The hobby shop where I go is saving that. Oh, nice. That's cool. Good to know. And George says one of the guys in the morning live stream, Tony, is bringing out a 1/100 Ksatria. Seems to love it. That's cool. Yeah, it's just too pricey. I mean, I can't say I haven't spent more on a kit, but nowadays, just I gotta watch. Can't buy the $400 kits anymore. Or in this case, that was like $2 something, wasn't it? So still ridiculously priced. I mean, it's probably worth it. It looked like it came with lighting and everything. It's probably way better than the Elin Ksatria, which is the one I built. The Elin Chinese version was just, unless that one's Chinese too, I don't know. But the Elin one was a nightmare as far as the wiring and everything. It was just so fragile. I literally had to test the wiring after every step. Anytime I would do a step and wire something through the model, I had to go back and plug it in and make sure it still worked. Because I would literally, do wire repairs every third step, it seemed like. He builds the most amazing motorbikes in the world. Who are we talking about? Fuzzy, I must have missed that. Merso Cast 1/100 Ksatria. Interesting. So that's a resin kit, Brian? Is it a full kit or like a dress up? If it's full resin, I mean, that's going to be heavy and big. Okay, not a lot to do with this here. We may have to do a little bit of damage to that frame. Actually, no, the glass needs it, not this. Okay, so this piece is going to sit and dry, and I'll come back to it. I don't think there's anything to do here. Maybe a little bit of full resin. Wow. Yeah, that's a heavy beast then if it's 100 scale Kshatriya. It's going to be massive. So I'm just going to do a little bit of paneling around this. So most of this is not really exposed, just the damaged area. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight those damaged areas. But other than that, I'm not going to go crazy with the panel lining on this section because you're really not going to see any of it. I'm just going to primarily focus on the damage area, like around here. And this smaller hole, can't really see much through it anyway. Once I flat coat everything, I think it'll light up a little bit more because it's going to lighten those colors up slightly. So those two pieces are waiting to be done now. Let's bring what next? Let's see. Not a whole lot here. Just these hooks. Go around those. I started working on it a couple of years back, cleanup and modifications. Pads is one as well. We were doing as you say. I've heard that to me a panel liner has bad long-term reaction with Bandai plastic. Is this true or not? Fuzzy's got a good question here. I think if you're putting it on bare plastic, yes. One of the things I wasn't even using, to me, a panel. I was doing a filter fade. And I was using enamel paint with lighter fluid as the thing to dissolve it and spread it around. And I discovered that if you put too much of that in one place and it soaked in, got under the outer armor and into the frame, it did make the armor quite brittle. I imagine that might be the same thing with panel line accent color. Although I'm just guessing, but if anybody's got any other input on that, I think a bare plastic, definitely you don't want to do it as much, and if you do, very sparingly. But I think if it's painted, it's has a little bit better chance of surviving, not being brittle. But if you also use too much, I think that becomes a problem. If you're really just saturating an entire area with it, and it gets behind places where you can't get it out, you can't, use your enamel thinner or whatever you're using to thin or to clean up your panel lines. If you can't get all of it out, then you run the risk of it becoming brittle. At least that's been my experience. Let's see here. Buddy builds of sorts. Oh, gotcha. Then life got in the way. Yeah, well, he decided to have a baby, so that's why Pabs is probably not building as much as he was before. Because I've always primed, painted, and clear coated lacquers on my builds and never had an issue. That's what I was kind of referring to. Was bare plastic always seems to be an issue with any kind of panel line solution. But if you're doing like I did here, where I primed, painted, and gloss coated everything with a lacquer, I shouldn't have any issues with this at all. I might actually I'm having difficulty holding this, so I'm just going to grab one of my little clamps here. That way I got something to hang on to. And then Fuzzy says he's never had what other plastics, other manufacturers, just the first time Bandai built it. Interesting. Yeah, there might be something there, but I've only heard of it having issues, if you're just not properly sealing your surface first before trying to panel line it. No stress, all questions are valid and worth an honest response. That is true. Use artist grade mineral spirits, Brian says, to clean up his liners and washes. Yeah, which is pretty much just enamel thinner, right? Mineral spirits, it's a... I guess it is, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Did I get around that window? Oh, yes, I did. Okay. You ever like panel line a piece and then you go to do the other side and you're like, did I get into that groove on that last one? You have to go back and double check. Just to be certain. Oops. I got a camera right there. Stay in the middle, buddy. Stay in your lane, bro. All right, now I got a few pieces here. I'm going to go back and switch over to the thinner here and go back and start cleaning some of these up. What's up? Common Binge B7 cheap viewers stream. Oh, I'm getting spammed again on Twitch. What do you know? Weird. Look at this crap. Anybody know this person? Nope. Didn't think so. Bandai does something different to their plastic. Let's see, George says Bandai does something different to the plastic in order to create tighter tolerances, but it makes the plastic susceptible to enamel and brittleness. Bandai bug. Well, that makes sense. Absolutely. All his kit builds are multi-layer paint jobs with clear coats using for chipping and decal. Yep, that's exactly what I do as well. And this guy wants to spam me from Twitch. I tell you, I never have any problems from YouTube or Facebook or any of those. It's always Twitch or Kick or whichever one I'm using. They always want to spam me with, here, you got to boost your viewers. I already got over 6,000 on Facebook. I think I'm doing pretty good for a niche market. Yeah, I haven't seen people with issues of panel lighting with snap builds. Yep, absolutely. You want cheap viewers? Bring them back. Fine, here, George. Write it down. Stream boo. There. That way you can pay for them. The mineral spirits tend to be more refined and standard enamel thinner. They serve the same purpose. Oh, okay. Good to know. I like this AK thinner though because it's odorless, works well. Never had an issue, so I always end up buying it. I know there was for a time there were some people that were kind of boycotting AK products because of some of the politics again and the relationship between the other company and MiG, but I've always liked the odorless thinner. It works really well. There you go. Got a nice panel line there. I like this gray. The gray looks good. All right, got a little bit on this, just on this one side. I'll take that one off screen. Did you get that, George? Did you write it down? Now maybe they can start spamming your channel. I need to adjust my camera here. Let me take this and move it. Let's try it. Let's do this. Oh, wrong way. One more. There we go. Let's do that. Update it now. There we go. Now I'm not so much out of frame. try to stay in the middle, but sometimes I get tucked in close to the body, and I tend to not see that I'm pulling off camera. All right, I'm going to take this tip off of here. Once these get too much black in them, I just cut the end off and use the other side. There's not a whole lot. Oops, I missed 2 grooves on that. I just saw some lines I missed up here on the front. All right, I'll set that aside for another 5 minutes. Let that dry, and we'll come back to it. Let's do these. And this is the damaged side. Let's see if I see it here. I don't know when companies or so-called artists, we want your products, not your politics. What are you referring to? Which company are you? Oh, you're talking about when I was talking about AK. Yeah, there was some kind of, I don't know, I don't even remember the ad. It was really tasteless. And, a lot of people were up in arms about it, but I mean, I just kind of, I've been using it. It wasn't like, I didn't need to boycott the company because of somebody's views or whatever ad or whatever. But then back then I was kind of blissfully ignorant about some of this stuff too. Not anymore. Last week I glued these little window partitions in place because it would make it easier to assemble everything. It was just kind of, there's no pegs or anything to hold them in place. They were really just falling out very easily. So I went back over it and glued them in place. Much easier to handle. All right, now that I got those panel lines in the back here done, clean them up. I think there's several decals too that will go on the head as well. There's a couple on the back. Now, the only ones I'm not going to use is there's actually like a target, almost like an MOA target reticle or something like that goes on the glass itself. I'm not going to use that just because I don't want a decal on clear glass. No matter how good the decal adheres, you'll still see that border. I don't want to see the border. I'd rather paint something, paint something on there when I'm done with the decal. I want it to look painted on, and I can't do that really on glass. Person has a cell phone, they will find something to be offended by, right? Yeah, that's true. And again, this was quite a few years ago, so everything's kind of gotten crazy. Reskit from Ukraine is pissing me off. Loading all their ads with propaganda as well. Really? That sucks. That sucks because I hear ResKit's nice, and I've even been referred to ResKit for supplies and things like that. But yeah, to hear that kind of stuff's going on, it's just disappointing. Too often, people find the oddest ways of expressing their or getting on their political platform. That's why for so many years I've refused to do it on this. I've had people watching this show. Now, granted, I've been talking more about it tonight than I probably do ever, but there's people on this show that have tried to suck me into talking about politics. And tonight it's probably going to be the only exception because of what happened today. But most of the time, I don't want to talk about it. It's supposed to be about scale modeling, And that's what we're doing. I got a few little nibs here and there to pen line on that. I think I've got. I'm going to replace the whole lot of this. Brian says, at a certain angle and a certain light, everything's sponsor can end up propagandized. Very true. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. George, the AK released a book and ads using the Holocaust. Yeah, it was done in poor taste for sure. But that was quite a few years ago. Back when Tim was still actually doing videos. You hear that, Tim? Hear that, child of Mecca? Quit hiding. I know you're almost done with your room now. Let's get on with it. Get back to working on models. Get back to doing live streams. Can't be the only ones holding up keeping this hobby going. Right, George? Right, Brian? Clean up that a little bit more. There's little bits that go in these square holes. I wanted to panel line them because I know they're going to cover up some of that hole, but I want those recesses to be dark. So, all right, let's see what can we do next. I'm going to do this head section here, and then we'll get on to the big piece, which is this guy's going to take a lot more work. So I'm just doing the easy stuff right at the moment. Don't have a lot of panel lines. Julius, what up, dude? Why, thank you, George. Does a wait, what did I miss? Gotta hide that one. Brian, I think you're propaganda. Oh, okay. Or maybe use decal. Use decal as a mask and cut profile. Stay politics for George's live tomorrow night. Yeah, I know, right? Sorry you're late. Don't worry about it, Julius. No big deals. Was hanging with the fam. That's more important anyway. Don't you worry one bit about that, Julius. Tim who? Who's that? Right. All right, thank you, George. Fuzzy, blah, blah, blah. Master Dempsey, pleasure. As always, I'm trying to get through the... Gosh, you guys are talking faster than I can read them. Brian is in the house. Yep, Brian's in the house. That's right. Causing trouble with extra vernacular. Yeah. That's what I have this little refreshment over here for. So I can understand Brian's extra vernacular. Extra big vernacular. Here late again will be joining me in the detention after school. You did it now, dude. You hear that, Julius? Don't ever do it again. Fuzzy's going to chase your ass down. You ain't going to like it. So it just occurred to me that I forgot to gloss this bottom part of this. I glossed the top of it. But I'm going to panel light it anyway. You know what? Who cares? It's on the bottom side. It'll clean up. This paint, even though it's not gloss, it's not entirely, it still has a very smooth finish to it, so I can still get away with it. Panel lining, even though it's just a little bit of paint and no clear coat on that bottom lip of the visor there. It'll be fine. My man. So again, if I haven't said it once, I'll say it again. Thank you so much for your support, guys. I appreciate your loyalty and your patronage, and you guys are always here every week hanging out, and we're patiently waiting for me to come back from working at the Ren Fair, and just trying to get back in the groove. I said it was just after I'd come home after work and just flopped down and I just had no energy. I was just tired. And then on Friday nights you could drive out to the site and do that all weekend, and then we closing weekend, to tear everything down the day after closing. It's just a ton of work, and it's hard to do. All right. As long as the detention is located is in New Zealand. Well, it should be. If Fuzzy's got anything to say about it, that's where you're from anyway, right? That's where you're at. New Zealand. That'd be fun. Should go over there. And pretend like we're. Whoa. Don't want to break that off. There we go. I'm just going to clean up this bottom edge. That looks pretty good. All right. Now we'll do the top. You can get some cool washy effects with lighter, unlacquered finishes. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I kind of got a little bit of that here because it is, even though it's flat, it's not entirely rough, so it did almost act like a pre-shade a little bit, or a post-shade, which is fine because that's under the visor anyway. I'm not too overly stressed about that. Bless you. That was my wife, if everybody heard that. You might have. My microphone might have picked that up, and my door is shut too. And she's still watching. She's going to hear me talking about her. All right, I'm just doing some of these smaller bits while that head, the top of the head dries. It's going along quite smoothly, quite quickly, actually. There's not a whole lot to clean up, I guess, on the outside. It'll start getting a little deeper involved when it comes to the weathering part of this. Chipping, chipping will come next. Maybe a little bit of rust. Or is that against the rules? It's made from Gundam. It doesn't rust. Okay, whatever you call it. I'm going to put a little bit of chipping on there. There's going to be some chipping and rust and grime, at least. Right? Or did the Zakus have, corrosion-free armor? They were a little bit, I thought they were always the dirtier of the mobile suits, versus the Gundams. Actually, Xeon kits were mostly cast from high carbon steel, so yeah, they would rust. Good, see, that's what I'm going to do. Rust that shit up. Brian's got my back. I never have to worry about that. Of course, George probably does too. I imagine everybody in the room does too. Whatever. I'm not playing favorites here. All right. Just want to clean up this hole here. Try not to grab. Be careful because these slivers that I've peeled up are quite sharp, and they might. I don't want to grab the Q-tip and break one of them off because I really like the way this looks blown away. It just looks like something really blasted its way out, which is exactly what I want. But I do have to swap this piece out. It's getting too saturated with. So I'm just going to cut the end off. Start the other side. Did a lot of research back in the day. Scruples. Well, that's good because I didn't. So it's good to have people like you around to educate me. I just build cool models. I don't know all the history or the lore or the who's sleeping with who. I just know, like, if it looks cool, I want to build it, I'll build it. You know? Seems fair. The hole is looking great. I know. Thanks. Thanks for noticing. I wasn't going to say it. It's all right. Fuzzy took care of it for us. Yeah, like I was saying earlier, I used Guy Nuts, their black primer, and it's really great stuff. And so because it's black and it dries relatively flat, it almost has a little bit of a satin finish to it, but not quite. But anyway, I was able to pretty much use that as a pre-shade. So just by painting the whole thing black and then doing the focus. There we go. So now you can see how some of those shades are coming through. I got a little bit more here though to do. So it kind of looks like a pre-shade, but it's actually just the primer. And I'm fine with that. I get some of this out of around the outside there. That looks better. Okay. One more piece. Pretty much done. All right. Looks like I'm doing it again. So I'm going to do another adjustment here. There. Whoops. Let's go back to there and update location. There we go. You can trust mechanics and panel beaters. You have dirtiest minds. Now back into fabrication. Oh, so wait a minute. We got Brian's doing fabrication. So what are you building though? Are you building? Was it last time? It was like you're doing like video game props, like they're like Fallout weapons and stuff like that. Is that what you're doing now? No, you didn't mention it, by the way. Well, you might have. I don't think I remember hearing that. So that's cool. I like this one. That's a good one. See, you don't want your hole to be too dirty. This is true. This is true. Metalworks, it's strong. I have the strongest. Okay, I'm going to leave that one alone. Sweet Brian, what you making? So George and I want to know, what are you making? All right, so now the last piece here is going to be this. I think these are just going to fall off, so I'm going to take them off just to get them out of the way. These bottom halves do not like to hang out. Okay, so this is together. I'm just going to actually, no, you know what? That's fine. Now I can kind of do these pieces here. And I've still got to do some hand painting. There's still some other, like the pistons and things. Those pieces I got to paint the chrome pistons on, the actual, or the tube, or the hydraulic piston tubes. I got to paint those and finish that. So I got a little bit to do there. Oh, did I miss something here? Then drawing a roll cage. Oh, right. Nice. So Fuzzy says he's been drawing up a roll cage for an 87 cylinder. Is this a real car or a model kit? Fuzzy. Brian says, you'll be able to share updates and things when we get to build. Yes, I'm pretty sure he would, wouldn't you? You're going to have another page that we have to watch, Brian? This deserves an actual conversation. I used to work in fabrication shop and did lots of different things. Worked for the movies. I worked for television stuff and public art. Nice. That's really cool. Good skill. Very good skill to have. Very good skill to have. All right. Ooh, I almost started shaking it again and the lid was off. That would have made a huge ass mess. Always check to make sure your panel line color lid is on tight before you pick it up and try to shake it. Just saying. All right, we'll do that. Because these are two halves, I'm not sure a lot of this panel line is going to stick. It's probably just going to go in. I'm going to be real careful. I don't want to get too much in there, but at least it will. At least it'll go into the groove a little bit. Because each one of these segments, these power cable segments, is in two halves. So it's not really a panel line. You're looking at just a seam, really. But it's an intentional seam. Oh, what did I miss? New comment. Oh, there it is. In 2.5 hours of free time on my day. Wow, cool. That's nice. Wish I could say the same. They're doing these stupid paving projects around here. It's just making it harder and harder to even get to work and get home every day. In the morning, I've got construction on the highway. They take a 2-lane highway and reduce it to 1. And then, so you never know if you're going to have to stop or what. And then coming home on the hill, I have to go up to get to my other street. They're profiling the street and doing all that. So that's creating an issue. Just getting stupid. Oh, Giovanni got a question. Giovanni, what's this? Is a question for the group live stream? Before the live stream ends, well, ask away, Giovanni. Let me go back up here before I. What does it say? Know about the public art, not the TV stuff. Awesome. Colleen time. What is that? I hope you know. Blah, 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 blah. Sorry, I'm trying to read through these and get caught up here. How many variants of the RE100 Ribawoo are there? This is his question, guys. To the room. How many variants? I do not know. I thought there was only one, but I don't think there is. There's more than that. Anybody got the answer? Is it a question for Google? Just finished I'm working on R100 Lindworm 5. Oh wait, that's Julius's. Or Brian says 5 miles from home. Fuzzy has no idea. Well, hopefully somebody else can chime in. Maybe George knows. So I've only seen one RE100 Robo. I don't know if there is more than one, but I guess there could be an unlimited amount. Just depends on how you want to paint it, or if you wanted to customize it, you could create your own variants that way. So this isn't going to take. It's going to take a little while, but there's quite a few. There's these little, almost like, I don't know if they're rivet marks or. Each section has 4 of these on the inside edge. And then, of course, there's a seam down the middle, which is a seam, but I still need to kind of get a little bit of this color in there. If anybody's got an answer for... George says, oh, F no. George definitely doesn't know. There's just way too much that multiple variance crap out there. True. Yep, sorry, Julius. We tried to answer your question, but it appears that so far, nobody here knows. Hopefully I can get this, at least get the cables portion done. Obviously there's not as much to do on one side because that's the broken side. This side is the full piece, which is all together. All right. And then I'll swivel this up and do this whole inside edge here. It is one of the nice things about this being apart. I've glued this back portion together. So this is all one piece. So these are now just swiveling. I can swivel them, put them in position I need. Commuting 3.4 to 4 hours a day. Is that total round trip, Brian? Because I did pretty close to that for 2.5 years once. It was about 140 miles a day round trip. In the mornings it wasn't so bad. It was about an hour. But coming home, it could be 2 hours, sometimes 3 hours. It was just an hour and a half, Most of the time it was at least an hour and a half. But yeah, it was pretty bad. All right, slow this down. I'll do the other side. I do great work on tight deadlines. Yeah, that's why I don't do deadlines. So typically, if anybody asks me, and Giovanni knows this because we had this conversation, but there's a commission that I'm going to start for him after I'm done with this project. And basically, that's the first question I ask. If anybody ever asks me for a commission, I said, do you have a deadline? Because I won't do it. I don't want to work under that kind of pressure. There's too many variables, especially, I'm not a spring chicken either. So, I get up at, I'm a 55-year-old technician that's been doing it for 30 plus years. I'm beat up. And if, something happens, I get injured or, there's just too many things can come up. So that's why I said if you don't have a deadline, we're good. And, then you'll get done. It'll get done right. I'm not going to be worried about rushing something at the last minute, make a mistake, or just don't do it. Daily commute from Jersey to Queens. Damn. So that was 3.5 to 4 hours. So it sounds pretty close to what I was doing. How many miles was that, by the way? Traffic and, it doesn't matter. You could go 10 miles and still take an hour if traffic's just horrible. So just curious is was that 100 miles? Was it, or was it less than that or more than that? This is the part that's going to take the longest because there's a groove on the inside of each one of these sections that I want to make sure it gets panel lined. So I've got to go I'm gonna go back and do this one. I didn't get it on this side, so I gotta go back and do all those. But it'll further highlight those segments. 36 miles, yeah. Nothing, right? It's hardly anything. I drive, in fact, one way for my job right now is about 37 miles. One direction. But like I said, in the morning, it takes 40 minutes sometimes. But I leave earlier because there's so much traffic that's been added to this little 2-lane highway because all the people are moving they're getting away from Seattle, going out further and further to try to make their cost of living cheaper because our state is so screwed up with our governor is a total moron. So everybody's like, we're out of here. And so they start moving out to where we're at, and it's just they're building more houses, so it's getting more crowded, but they haven't widened the highway. They haven't done anything to alleviate the traffic. So it's just more and more cars. So when I first bought this house, I would leave at maybe 5:15, maybe 40 minutes. And then I started leaving at 5 o'clock. And then I started leaving at 4:45. Now that's where I'm at now, 4:45 every day. Because I just have to get on the road that much earlier to get ahead of all these freaking idiots on the road. And they're all coming down further up the hill from me, Startup, Gold Bar area. It's terrible. It takes 2 hours to travel 36 miles. Yeah. That's New York for you. Well, it's probably not any better in LA. LA traffic was so bad too. It was kind of like that. There'd be days where you could fly through, no problem. But as soon as you get one car accident or a bunch of looky-loos looking at somebody pulled over, and you drive by wanting to see hair, teeth, and eyeballs, not realizing it's just a flat tire or something stupid. Everybody's got to slow down and look, So I'm going to finish up. I'm going to do just the cables, I think. I don't think I'm going to have time to get the rest of the back of this thing done. There's a lot to clean up on these cables, so that looks like I got everything. Pretty much. Okay. Give that a minute to dry. Now, what I'm going to use with this is hopefully I got some new ones over here. Pull out some of these. I thought I did. Oh, maybe I don't. All right, I get some out of the stash here. So I got a bunch of these Daiso. I had an open package. Thought I did. What did I do? Didn't I have an open package? I got lots of sealed ones. I gotta have an open package somewhere. Oh well, just open a new one. Sure. Alright. I need my razor blade. 1 second, guys. I'm gonna get some. There we go. Alright. Brand new package. I know when I open these up and I start using them, I'm going to find the other one. I'm just going to break off about 6 or 8 of those. All right. Okay. And we'll just... So what I'm going to do is because these have the sharper tip on them, like the other ones, I will do a majority of the cleaning with this end and then get into the grooves with the pointed end. That's how we're going to do that. I don't know, it sounds like, what's that? Deegan's from upstate? Who's Deegan's? Murphy's Law, Hobby Bench. Yeah. Or did I read that wrong? Deegan's. I don't know what you mean, Deegan's. All right. I'm sure you're going to tell me. Find out. All right. Let me clean up this radiator first. I'm not going to see any of that except what's through there. So, Degens. Oh, gotcha. I think. And who's messaging me on Instagram? I hear my phone going off. I'll get him. I'll get him later, guys. Don't worry. All right. So we'll do the short side first. Just watch a little bit of Letterkenny. I love Letterkenny. Oh my god. Cracks me up. Never gets old. I watch that show all day long. It's so funny to me. And then, have you watched Shorzy? The series Shorzy? I think there was a couple of seasons of it. It's so funny. But of course. Nice been hanging out with you. I got to go now. Okay, Fuzzy, good to see you, my friend. As always, thank you so much for joining in. I know it's probably late in the day for you, unless it's really early. I can't remember if it's New Zealand time. What time is it over there? But anyway, appreciate you, sir. Have a great day. It's probably sometime in the morning on Thursday for him already. I think they're ahead of us by about 8 hours or something like that. I can't remember. But yeah, always good to have him in. Like I said, I truly appreciate the loyalty of everybody that hung around and waited for me to get back into the groove here. It's probably the longest break I've taken in a while. I mean, sometimes, you're just like, I'm just not going to do a show today, or you're just not feeling it or whatever, or you're in a little bit of burnout. You might miss a week, maybe two, or you're sick. There was a couple times where I had COVID one time, and I was just destroyed from that. I just took a day off. But be gone like 5 weeks. It's a long time. I know I did one show in between there with Brian. I came in and hung out. But that was it, and that really, I didn't really accomplish a lot during that model. That wasn't really a lot done on the model because it was mostly, we're just talking with each other, just chatting with friends really about scale modeling, try to get a little bit done, but it's a little bit different when you're the host of the show, so you're trying to host as well, make sure everybody's questions are getting answered and entertaining the guest. It's always important. So anyway, all right. Midday, yep, that's what I thought. But it's like midday on Thursday, not Wednesday. So they're ahead of us by quite a bit. All right, so I'm on the last part of this. Just get in between I'm using the tapered end now to get in between these tubes. Got about 5 more minutes, folks. Time flies. Last week, it seemed like I was trying to just, like, it was just dragging. Like a lot of times when I'm doing this, it's like I look up and like, holy crap, it's already been an hour. But last week, it just seemed like I was almost at the end of it. I was like trying to find enough time for, trying to do enough to keep the show going for a full hour and a half, but I had to cut it a few minutes short. I just ran out of stuff to do. Got a few fingerprints here from this, me holding this, panel lining. So at the very end here, I'll go back over all of the tubes on the outside just to kind of do one final cleaning. So I get in between everything here. Almost done with this side. Got a little bit more to do on the short side. And a lot of chipping and stuff. There's going to be quite a bit of that done, especially these tubes as well. So this scale makes it a little bit easier for that kind of stuff because it's larger scale, so that the chipping will be, I don't think, quite as difficult to do as a really small scale, because obviously small scale you got to be careful about the size and the amount of chipping. But this is a pretty big Zaku head here. Talking shop, it's not very easy. Did it for 180 plus live streams plus the additional 80-ish. Yeah, I know. That's why I wanted to focus on getting some of the paint work done, so I knew that I had at least made some really good progress, because it seemed like the last few live streams before I took that break, I was just struggling to even getting anything in the model done. It was just like, it was hard to get any work done during the week, and so most of the time I was just showing up and starting over where I left off. Didn't really do anything during the week. At least this time I got all the paint work essentially done. The damage was finished last live stream. So, all right. I'm going to use this new one. I'll put you back in the bin. All right. So I got one more here. I'll have to finish that the connection point back here. We'll call it the backpack, but I'll have to panel line that and go over it. I'm just going to make sure these tubes are nice and clean. No fingerprints. That's pretty good. All right. Yeah, and then we'll have to just we'll have to do this little back portion here, and we're done. And then it's on to decals and weathering. So this week or weekend, I'm going to try to get the decals at least finished, so I can start clear coating everything again, and then start the weathering process next live stream. Which will be chipping, rust, pigments, stuff like that. All the usual suspects there. So anyhow, let's finish this off right. All right. So let me go up here. We'll bring the bench back. You can see what's going on. All my stuff everywhere. I did a little bit of cleaning because there was a lot of dust created from that, from grinding all these pieces down with the Dremel. Kind of made a mess, so I had to do a little bit of cleaning there. But let's go back up to here, and we'll finish this one off. So, starting at the top. Oh gosh, I got a lot more. Oh wow. Yeah, I'm just going to have to remember everybody. I think Fuzzy was in first. Yeah, Nick. Oh, excuse me, Giovanni popped in right after that, and then then Nick, then my wife, then George, and then Brian, and yeah, I'm pretty sure that was it, right? Oh, of course, then we got spammed by. Does George want me to highlight that stupid You want to get some followers, George? Here we go. This one again. There you go. Remove the space. Oh, in the streamboo.com. Remove the space, George. Apparently. Anyway, guys, I appreciate each and every one of you. As always, thank you so much for joining in. Thanks for coming in and hanging out with me on the live stream. I'm going to try to start doing throughout the week too. This is something I'm going to try to start doing some reels and some shorts, little video shorts for YouTube. I don't know. I'm probably going to do them for Facebook too. At the same time, I might be able to publish them all at once like I do here, because it gives me 3 choices, 3 locations I can stream to. So I'm going to try to start doing that kind of stuff, because I know that'll help out too. But please tell your friends. I appreciate the support. Tell your friends, like and subscribe, smash that button, and of course the bell icon, like always. It's the same routine. You guys know the algorithm with YouTube, but it's the best place right now. I'm focusing mostly on that. I am trying to still put photographs and things up there, mostly, rather than just the videos. I used to do a lot of photographs. Like before I started doing videos, it was nothing but photos, and I kind of got away from that because I was focusing on the video. So it's a balance of trying to get all those things in one place and do it all. So I'll see you all in a couple weeks, Brian. PatCon right around the corner. Good night. George says good night, Mike. Did I miss any of that? Nope, I don't think so. And Mike, fun time as always. And please remember, there is no need for violence. Pray for peace. Absolutely. Absolutely. A terrible thing. And I know you didn't care for the guy much, but the problem I had was that people were celebrating this, like, literally jumping up and down and cheering for this. It's just insane that anybody, regardless of who they are, would do that to a guy who's in his 30s, who's a father and a husband and a young father, and actually celebrating that thing, that happening to someone. It's just ridiculous. So anyway, sorry about that, but we'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for joining in, and we'll see you on the next one.